everybody. Welcome to InPsightRadio. I am your host, Danielle Egnew, and you are a fly on the wall to everywhere. Hi! How's everybody doing with our social distancing? Isn't it weird? Now, some of you may be noticing that I sound a little stuffed up. I want to apologize for last week's lapse in a podcast. I've had an upper respiratory infection that actually gave me laryngitis for over a week. Now, I don't have COVID-19. I do not have coronavirus. It's just, the normal cruddy cold that people get in the springtime up here in Montana. So I had to wait for that to clear. So thank you for your patience. And I'm getting on sounding like nasally Nancy today. But hey, I think we can all deal with that because there's a lot of information that I need to get out to everybody. And I'd rather sound like a walking nose than not get it out. So here we go. All right, gang. So as you've been noticing, we've had a lot of changes in the world, and we're watching people get police escorts in and out of Costco's so they don't go crazy and buy too much rice and toilet paper and hoard. And here in my hometown of Billings, Montana, we had somebody break into a friend of mine's mother's house. Somebody broke in and stole her canned goods. Now, these are minority cases. Yet, people get afraid and they start doing some really crazy things. And it's very important that we are really taking a step back and looking at the message of what this coronavirus is bringing to the world in a big, wide format, in a big, wide lens angle, rather than just starting to hyper-focus on little tiny pieces of this instance, because that's where our fear comes from, And so what I would like to tell everybody out there is that what we are going through right now is an unprecedented time in the history of humanity, because we have never, ever had this many people on the planet before, and we've never been able to reach out to each other in such a way through social media. So even though we're social distancing, and there are many places in the country that are on a full stay-in-your-house lockdown unless it's necessary to go to the grocery store or the doctor, we in Montana, as of what is today, my God, it's the 26th of March already. Can you believe that? Of 2020. As of the 26th of March, we in Montana are not in a full-blown lockdown yet we have been asked, not officially by the governor, yet our hospitals have asked us to stay home and not travel unless it is necessary, to get out there. Nobody go to the mall for a hat right now. It's just not good timing. However, we are also seeing communities come together to support their local small businesses during these times where people are being asked to stay in their house. And I think that's brilliant. My wife is a small business owner, gang. She owns a gym. She owns Kinesi Coaching Studios in Billings, Montana. And my wife is very, very intuitive. We're pretty much a three-psychic household between myself, my wife, and our daughter. And the night before the governor of Montana issued a closure for public spaces, restaurants, anything where people congregate, churches, gyms, etc., and so on. The night before, my wife felt a social responsibility to close her gym, and she sent out a letter to all of her gym members expressing that she was going to do this. And then, because she kept saying to me, this is going to come, it's going to come, it's going to come. And sure enough, the next day, Governor Bullock here in Montana issued the business shutdown. So what she has done is she has gone on to the internet, which I've been encouraging her to do for the last 2 years because my wife is unbelievably brilliant in the areas of health and wellness and fitness and nutrition and all of these different things. And I'm not just saying that, you guys, because I love her. I mean, she honestly has a major talent in this area. And, she's almost 50 years old. She's not running around as this, 19-year-old hard body. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I was a 19-year-old hard body, loved my 19-year-old hard body self. But she's not running around as somebody, I'm just simply saying someone she's not, attempting to get a health and wellness model out there. She is bringing people wellness at this point into their homes. So what she's done is she's gone and brought her workouts online. Now she's created a portal where people can actually join her gym online and participate in a workout that she's doing, and you can do it in your house. If you head on over to Join Kinesi today, and Kinesi is KINESI, joinkinesitoday.com, you're going to find that there's an online portal. You can sign up there if you want to. And it's really cool. I mean, she's literally understanding that the times that we're in, this is not going to be just a little 5-minute period here where we have the opportunity to get over it and next week we go back to work. This is going to be our temporary new normal for the next 3 to 6 months in America. So I'm looking at all these businesses, doing their best to stay alive. And we as a family are ordering takeout from some local businesses that are restaurants that are still deciding to stay open, because we want them to stay going, for goodness sakes. We're buying gift certificates at different stores, even though at this time people can't get out and actually shop. We're buying gift certificates so that people can use those gift certificates at a later time. And those are being mailed to us. So we can use those as gifts as soon as the economy opens back up and it's really safe for people to go outside. So there's a lot of things that people are doing. And I'm also noticing that the message of this coronavirus is really to get into our own genius and brilliance and stop just existing in that first inch of water in a 2-mile deep ocean. And in that first inch of water is where we see a lot of our commerce and our frenetic consumerism and our lack of planning and our buying one thing and then just hopping from one thing to the next and not even thinking about it. We are being asked to put so much more effort into our lives at this point. And I personally think that attention to our lives and our detail is brilliant. What I don't think is brilliant is people losing their lives because of this illness. And we are going to continue, gang, as I look into the ethers and I look out and I get a chance to see through these angels' eyes and what they're looking at, we're going to continue to have escalations in the United States, in this COVID-19 outbreak. We're doing really well, America, by staying ahead of it. And, let's put out some prayers and good energy for areas of the world that didn't have as much of a heads up and had a much more closely connected society, like Italy. I mean, I'm Italian. You tell Italians not to go out and hug each other, and we will look at you like you are Satan. You got to be kidding me. So to look at Italy and the way that they have multi-generational families living in one residence, they'll have great-great-grandma at 100 years old living on the bottom floor of a 3-story tall townhome. And then you've got the 50-somethings living in the middle floor and, maybe mom and dad in middle somethings. So you've got 70-year-old people plus maybe 50 or 40-year-old people. And then the top floor has all the 20-somethings and 30-somethings because they're expected to climb all the stairs, by the way. So that's one of the reasons that the pandemic spread through Italy as quickly as it did, because multi-generational families live in one place there. And it's not like here in the United States where, in my opinion, we treat our seniors with a horrifying lack of conscience and respect. And a lot of times we just retire them to nursing homes, or sometimes people want to go to those retirement villages, and that's fine too. Yet when we look at this overarching lesson of coronavirus, we are being asked to not only connect with ourselves at this point in it, yet to be able to create lifestyles that are more sustainable going down the pike. And like I look at my wife, for example, for 2 years, and I'm just using her as an example because this is on the top of my mind. I've been watching her do this. For 2 years, she's been talking about getting her particular fitness program out there online. She's had requests from people out of the area, out of Billings, Montana, that follow her on Facebook. People who love what she does because she's not just pumping iron and losing an inch around your waist. I mean, it's a whole mindfulness lifestyle that she promotes. And people have been asking her forever, can you put this online? Because I would love to be part of your program. And she just has not had time to do that, running her own gym. Kinesi is her own brand. So running her own gym and having her own staff and having her own clients here in Montana, she's not had the time to create this platform. Well, now she's launching it, because she's got the time to get all these videos out there. And we just happen to be super lucky and blessed. And I think nothing's an accident. So, I'm in television. So we have all of this TV and, professional shooting gear. And we've got all this great audio gear that you use for television. So people are, the product they're getting is great and all these things. Yet let's talk about the provision of what you've been given in your life up to this point where everything is shut down. What have you been given in your life that has seeded this opportunity for you to take the brilliance that you've had mulling in the back of your head, and maybe you're just too busy like the rest of us? What is the provision that you've been given that is being asked to be brought forward and is being asked to be used to support your incredible gifts and talents? I mean, that's why I referenced, this professional shooting gear and audio gear that we have in my house. It's not to pat myself on the back and say, ooh, look how cool I am. If you told me that I was going to be using it part of the idea that we got it was to use it for a potential online platform for Rebecca, for sure. Yet that was not where any of our heads were. Yet that's the provision that is in our life and how we can be still reaching people. And so look at your own life. I mean, have you been stockpiling writing classes? Have you been stockpiling science textbooks? I mean, what have you put in your life? Have you been buying up yarn and you can't figure out why? Have you been buying up cloth and you can't figure out why? And now we've got clinics in Seattle and in Tacoma that need masks, and if any of you are seamstresses out there or have a little extra time on your hands, my stepmom is a doctor out in Tacoma, Washington, at Peninsula Medical Center and in Gig Harbor. And, she was telling me, as are many doctors out in the Pacific Northwest right now, was telling me about the fact that they are short on medical masks. And so all of their nurses, all of their providers, it's tough because they're reusing masks that they're making themselves out of whatever they can find and stuff it with Kleenex and whatever they can tie on their faces. And so if any of you are seamstresses out there and can download medical mask patterns and make masks out of smooth material, something that's washable, cotton, something that's easy to wash, and make a little pocket in the mask. So maybe that, a coffee filter can be inserted or something can be inserted and that can be thrown away and the masks can be washed and reused. That would be super. Seattle needs you. Shoot. My stepmother's clinic needs you out there. So, these are things that we can do in our downtime. So look at everything that has been brought into your life to this point. What have you been, quote, stockpiling that you haven't even realized you've been stockpiling? And maybe the word isn't stockpiling. What have you been bringing into your life? Because this is the time to use that. I have a really good friend of mine out here in Montana. There's lots of folks who own guns. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a little more on the conservative line of thinking in life. And I asked my friend the same question. I said, well, what have you been stockpiling up to this point, to be able to use in this time frame for the betterment of everybody? And my friend replied to me. It was kind of horrible and funny at the same time. My friend says, well, I've been stockpiling bullets, but I don't plan on using them unless I have to. And I said, well, that's not quite what I'm talking about, man. Come on. I'm talking about what have you stockpiled that is something that you could funnel through your gifts and talents to put these things into the world now that quite honestly, now that our schedules have been augmented. And some of you are still working full-time out there. You're still being asked to come into your office and your job. And I just want to give you a heads up. We're going to be pretty much on a full tilt, full lockdown, countrywide coming up, probably within the next month, if not the next 6 weeks. Now, I have a dear pal who lives over in South Dakota who is telling me that in Rapid City, the mayor and the city council are receiving death threats if they should choose to shut down businesses. And that's ridiculous, gang. Whenever we put the almighty dollar ahead of public health and safety, we have truly lost our way. We have just fallen into a pit of idolatry with money. When money becomes more important than human life, gang, that's been the way it's been through a very imbalanced, what I view as a sociopathic consumerist system that's been eating the first world for a long time. So one of the messages of coronavirus that's coming through is not only who are we in this time frame and how are we going to sustain ourselves economically, yet it's also what can we bring to the world. You're being asked to bring the best of what you are to the world and not just get distracted by our 9-to-5 grind, our need to pay bills, et cetera, and so on. There are many, many credit card companies out there and your car companies who, if you give them a call and say, listen, can we just waylay my payment for a month or so until I can figure out what's going on? I can't get into work. Can you please waylay it without interest? There are credit card companies and car companies all over the place that are doing this, because they don't want people to default on loans. I mean, come on. And they also realize that you can't get blood out of a turnip if people aren't working and are sent home by the government. What are they going to do? Put everybody in collections? That's absolutely ridiculous. So there's a lot more support for us out there than we are anticipating. And we are also being taught through this coronavirus that Mother Earth has the last say about our existence. And I'm someone that deeply believes that the mother form of God, or Mother Earth, I believe nature is God. I believe that's a form of God. I believe there are many forms of God. And nature is such an incredible, undisturbed thing that operates on a perfect cycle of evolution. I mean, forest fires occur naturally. They burn what needs to be burned away so that pine cones can pop open and new trees can grow and new ecosystems can come into place. And the soils can receive the nutrients they need to receive through those fires. Nature knows what it's doing. And humankind, in all of our hubris and weirdness, we love to think we're smarter than everything. We've built this playhouse on top of nature called society. And then we've decided to trade beans back and forth, or dried rocks, or anything that we've found of value. And we call this money. And we've decided that we're going to use these dried rocks or these beans as a trading mechanism, even though nature provides us with everything we need: water, food, shelter if we choose to build it. But by God, we're terraformers, we humans. And I think if anybody wants any sort of evidence that humanity's DNA has been tampered with by off-world sources. You watch all these ancient alien shows, right? And I think it's so fascinating. If you look at nature, human beings are the only thing living on this planet that terraforms the planet. We are the only thing that create artificial environments for ourselves within an environment. All the rest of nature just deals with the environment that they're dealt. We create terraformed biospheres to live in and to congregate in. We put all kinds of climate-controlled places all over. We put plumbing in. We put concrete down. And if you look at it, we are the only species of anything on this planet, mammal or otherwise, that does that. And you know who else does that? Lots of our off-worlders out there, lots of those ETs that all these TV shows talk about, and that the former Prime Minister of Defense of Canada wrote a book about interfacing with and released about how all the world governments are dealing with these aliens and ETs and off-worlders. So here we are as a species terraforming everything, living a little out of step with nature and causing problems with it, because a lot of our DNA comes from those folks from Sirius AB. And that's a podcast for another time, and I know I'm getting a little out there. But the point I'm trying to make here is let's look at the message of the coronavirus, which is paying attention to the fact that we are part of a planet of that Mother Earth, of that Mother God, that has the last say. So this is a fascinating thing to me to watch this play out, because there are people who are still just not understanding this natural lesson at all. And again, please understand, I am not excusing or making excuses for the death of people. What I'm saying is there's a bigger overarching picture here that I am allowed to see, and that I think we're all allowed to see if we just open up our eyes spiritually and open our hearts up. I mean, it doesn't take a psychic to see this stuff. Come on, let's be aware, okay? And if we really put ourselves out there, we can understand that we're being asked to see that we affect the planet in such a profound way, and in our, I like to call it our corn syrup haze, because corn syrup really does kind of affect the prefrontal cortex of the brain in a very non-positive way. Shuts down a lot of critical thinking functions. If we keep eating it over and over and over, it's a tremendous high. And at least, we in the first world, especially in the United States, we love to live in our corn syrup haze. This is a very important place for us to be. This is how we support our denial. We literally anesthetize with sugar, with foods, with all kinds of stuff. We keep ourselves high as a kite and distracted like mad in America. Oh, come on, we do. Because there's a lot going on in the world, and our phones are blowing up, and our email boxes are erupting, and everybody wants our attention, and we barely have time with our families. So we congregate in front of the TVs and we binge watch whatever because we're so dang tired at the end of the day. We are being run into the ground by a sociopathic system that values money over the earth. It values money over people. It values money for the sake of acquisition of money, like a giant Pac-Man, just eating. And I'll speak as an American because I don't know what it's like to live other places, so I don't want to speak out of turn for my global partners out here. Yet, in America, we are groomed generation after generation to have more stuff, to have more stuff, to have more stuff. Put your kids through super expensive colleges. The college prices are going up. As you can see, everything has flown off the rails, and humanity can no longer keep up with this feeding the monster money. We can't work enough hours to feed the monster money. We are paying more taxes. And it's so funny, this big tax incentive thing that happened. And yeah, people got more money back in their daily taxes, but that money is just getting rolled onto the deficit. So we're all going to have to pay for that eventually. Right now, we're all having a party with more money in our checks. Rock on. Yay, party. But as all stimulus packages happen, that's going to get rolled on. And now, that's not even going to matter because the federal government, thank God, is passing a stimulus bill for everybody. And no, it's not going to be perfect. And yes, there are corporations that are being bailed out. Yet there are also provisions for small businesses, for people, individuals, and for kids. And this is a very important issue. This is extremely important. So when we see all of this coming around and we understand that this money that we're all trying to just chase, and literally we have the lieutenant governor of Texas asking, well, not really asking people, but making the statement that he's 70 and he feels like, it's a noble thing to do. I'm paraphrasing. Please read his original comments. Yet it's a noble thing to do for people of a certain age to give up their lives to save the economy and save the American way of life for their kids. And it's all about the money. And I'm laughing because he was suggesting that we all go back to work early so that we can save the economy, so that we can save people investments, and we can save the American way of life for his grandkids. And I'm cracking up because I'm thinking, dude, your public health model is going to kill millions of people. And there's going to be nobody there to appreciate the, quote, American way of life that quite honestly has not existed for, good Lord, 50, 60, 80 years in this country. I mean, I love our American propaganda. I'm a proud American. I'm a Montanan first. I'm a proud Montanan. Then I'm a proud American. But I do recognize that, Go USA is kind of our brand over here. And I think we all know that. So you gotta love it and hate it at the same time. So what we're being asked through this coronavirus explosion is who have you been being beckoned to be for the last 5, 10 years, maybe 20 years, maybe your whole life, and you've never slowed down long enough to become that person in the world? Who is it? I mean, are you an author? Do you have the next world-saving new energy invention that's been rolling around in the back of your head? But we're all so busy in our corn syrup haze running for the big dollar, oh God, earn, that you haven't stepped into exactly what it is you're designed to do. Or maybe you're doing exactly what you're designed to do, and you're just put up on blocks right now because perhaps your line of business is being closed. How do you bring the rest of what you are to the world? If we're not doing, gang, who are we being? If we're not doing, world, who are we being? We are human beings. And going back to the whole point of one of the great spiritual messages that I get out of coronavirus is that we are being asked to see that we are not separate from this planet. It's very important to note that, and I'm going to say this a million times over, COVID-19, the novel coronavirus came from animals, okay? And there's a lot of debate about where it came from, so we're not going to go there. Yet it originally came from animals, all right? This was not a genetically engineered virus that was made to take out presidents. That's just such a ridiculous line of thinking, but an excellent movie. If somebody wants to make a fictionalized piece out of that, that's pretty awesome. However, we're being asked to understand that we literally ingested a virus that occupied the animal kingdom. Now, I want you to just go with me on this thought process a minute, because what we're talking about is threading humanity back to the earth and back to one another. And I'm not talking some hippie, hug your tree, green, blah, blah. I am talking about the reality that we are mammals who have evolved on this planet. We are part of this ecosystem. We are part of the planet. We are not separate than the planet. The manifest destiny, weird separatist avarice that infected the consciousness, especially here in the United States, in the 1800s and early 1900s and maybe even late 1700s. I think that was more of an 1800s thing. That was, quite honestly, a sickness of avarice and had nothing to do with industry. It had nothing to do with anything except for ownership. It was an avarice issue. So we've had our little exercise in conquest and manifest destiny, and I will own it all. And congratulations. Welcome to the 1800s. We're in 2020. Let's move along. Great. Okay. So as we're moving along here, what we're looking at now is we are being beckoned to be reminded that we are part of nature. We're not separate from nature. We don't control Mother Nature. We don't have a handle on the weather. And so these cycles of false news going around that state that novel coronavirus is a COVID-19 is something that was a biologically engineered illness. They're just pure, that's pure crap. That's pure crap. This comes from animals. So think about this. This virus hopped from the animal kingdom into a person. It found a human host that had enough. The way that I view this, I am not a doctor. I'm not a geneticist, okay? I am not somebody who works in a virology institute, yet I am giving you this information through the spiritual ethers, the psychic ethers, as it's coming into me, all right? So I'll do the best I can to describe it. That virus hopped into a human being that had enough in common with genetically whatever the basis of that animal. I'm not saying they were a bat person or a pig person or anything like that, but there was enough in that human being, in their environment of their body, to allow that virus to mutate. And the virus had enough, whatever it was, it could have been 1/10 of a chromosome in something that said, hey, I'm going to mutate and see if I can really hang on, because in this body, I'm a virus and I'm hanging on by one fingernail over a cliff. And my whole entire job in being existent is to spread myself. So I've got like one teeny little piece here that maybe I have a commonality with this host. So we're going to exploit the dickens out of that. So that virus mutated in that person. And then that person gave it to someone else. And once the COVID-19 virus hit that other person, it continued to mutate. And that's one of the things we're watching in this fascinating and creepy virus is it is mutating as it goes. And that's one of the reasons that our health professionals have been having a difficult time getting a handle on it, because we still don't know what its settled down format is going to be as it makes this jump from the animal kingdom into human beings. Why am I talking about this? Because we literally are ingesting nature, straight out of nature. This is coming straight from animals into people. And some people are able to handle it. And some people's system are not. And it's causing secondary effects and pneumonia and all kinds of awful things. So when we get a chance to look at this, we are even having nature infused into us on a cellular level, because we're not getting the frickin' memo that we are not owners of this planet, that we are not commanders and manifest destiny people, and we are the terraformers of this planet. We need to back the hell off of that a little bit. I'm not saying don't have any AC. I'm just saying, can we please figure out a green way to do this to live in harmony with nature? And I'm saying that because our planet is crying out for us to do this. We cannot, with almost 8 billion of us, continue to live separately from the planet we live on. And wander in this corn syrup haze that we're not part of nature. I mean, that is delusion, people. That is a willful set of delusion. And it's going to kill us. And it is killing us right now. And so Mother Nature, I believe, if you want to call it Mother, Father, God, Mother Nature, a plague, the apocalypse, whatever you want to call it, what we're being asked to look at right now is that in the middle of this giant transition, what buttons are being pushed in each one of us? When we are being called back to nature, when we are being called back to share toilet paper and to share all sorts of resources that we have, what buttons in us are being pushed? Now, I want you to think about that, because before Cro-Magnon man sprung up all over the planet. And yes, I'm speaking in a lot of concepts today and a lot of big brushstrokes, but we have a lot of ground to cover. Before this all blew out with Cro-Magnon man, we're all so busy looking for the missing link. Man, there were hominins all over the earth. Dozens of different kinds of humanoid beings. And one of the most prominent that we talk about a lot in our cultures are the Neanderthals, who basically were killed off by the Cro-Magnon folks who just popped up out of nowhere, spread like a plague, and had a completely different value system than the Neanderthals. As we look into the Neanderthals, they were very much about the earth. They weren't stupid cavemen. We're now realizing that they had quite a complex society that was very much based on compassion, on nature, on the earth. A lot of it was based, from what we can tell in our, we're just patchworking this all together, but we're finding a lot of evidence of sharing and communal everything and kindness. And, you find a Cro-Magnon guy and his head's been bashed open by a rock. I'm sure there's some of that too. We did evolve from monkeys. So it's fascinating that the dominant species that's running around the earth now all came from the hominin strain that was the Cro-Magnon person. And I'm probably missing some key nuances here in evolution, but we've got a limited amount of time here. So what we're dealing with here is if you have a bulbous prefrontal cortex, which guess what? Pretty much all of us do, anymore on the earth. And if you're this person, like me, then we were part of something that got introduced here and spread like a virus. And for all intents and purposes, killed off more indigenous life that was here. And it happened very quickly, gang. If you look at the spread of evolution, evolution takes a long time. You have one genetic anomaly that happens in one area of the world, and then it takes quite a long time for that genetic anomaly to catch on and spread. And then eventually, just by the sheer numbers and genetics, another genetic anomaly happens somewhere else in the world. It takes a while for a new species to come in. But I'll tell you, Cro-Magnon man popped up everywhere and killed off everybody, and we came up on the coasts. We weren't popping up in the middle of plains, and we came up on the coasts. So somebody came in, had a little party. I always picture extraterrestrials, popping into ancient Los Angeles or something and just having a hell of a party and leaving a bunch of offspring behind, but whatever. Podcast for another time. The point I'm making is that the predominant species, whether we were seeded by extraterrestrials or not, whether that was part of God's plan or not, the predominant species that came up was not the species that was living in the most harmony with Earth. They were the terraformers. And there's even a lot of evidence now that Neanderthal people farmed. So this isn't like, no, we needed to farm and hunt. Well, we were already doing that as different hominins. So the species that killed everybody else off is a bit of an avarice one. And so if you understand that, and you understand that the planet is trying to get back into communion with all of us, and that we're getting these little bits of mammals injected into some of us, and that's killing some of us. And for others of us, it's, hey, we're getting through it. Have we ever thought of what else that virus might be carrying besides deadly components? And again, I'm not a geneticist, so I am not attempting to teach on genetics right now. I am an angelic channel and a psychic, okay? Yet I am giving you information as it's being given to me. And one of the resonations or pieces of information in coronavirus, not to say we need to all go out there and get it, we shouldn't, wash your damn hands, all right, is that this thing that came from an animal carries with it some very base level vibrations about the earth and about the animal kingdom. And so I think it's fascinating that, again, I'm not suggesting we all got coronavirus, yet it's fascinating that the earth is injecting itself into us on a cellular level because we just keep rejecting it and acting like we're not part of this planet. Since we've been on a break, meaning that people have had to be in their homes, since we've been on this break, it's been really interesting because we've had a lot of improvement in water quality in China, in air quality in China. People can actually see the mountains for the first time in forever. People can actually see the bottoms of rivers for the first time in forever because all the manufacturing plants are closed. People can see fish in the Venice canals, which are typically very polluted because of everybody coming in and out and all the tourists and whatnot, and people living there and pouring crap into the canals. I mean, we are looking at lesser airline flights. We are looking at less people driving their cars. The carbon footprint that's been temple punching the earth for 50 years is just taking a break. And it's going to continue to take a break for the next 3 to 6 months. And I can't help but think, good Lord, what if the earth looks at us as a virus? And the earth is trying to say, y'all, you're never going to kill me. I'm a being. I'm a planet. You all live on this teensy-weensy little skin that I have. You can't kill me as a biosphere, but you're making it rough. And you're doing some weird things that I don't like. So we don't appreciate it being affected by a virus that was passed to us from a bat or whatever. And I don't think the planet appreciates us infecting it with this asinine, outdated, manifest destiny, conquest destiny bullcrap where we put money above all things. And then this issue gets politicized. And I got to tell you, I will get fired up on this podcast about that because I am over it. I am over hearing that caring about our planet is some progressive Democrat, blah, blah. That is such crap. I'll tell you something. I've got a lot of friends out here in Montana that I like to call them John Wayne conservatives. I don't know if, John Wayne was actually a conservative person. I don't know that. But I think about his roles he played, And these friends of mine that are John Wayne conservatives, some of them are the biggest nature conservationists that you have ever heard of. They pack in their trash, they pack it out. If they're shooting an elk, they pick up their bullet casings. They don't leave them laying around places. It's amazing that we have these stereotypes of people that are just inaccurate, or that all people who are Democrats and who want to save the planet also want to take your guns away. Please understand that the lesson of this coronavirus is bringing us back to being part of the human family, not the political family. I've been posting up different statements on consciousness on Facebook and what coronavirus is trying to show us. And oh my God, it's a magnet for people to just argue politics because we are so brainwashed, at least in America, and maybe it's this way other places. We are so brainwashed to have to argue principle and argue theories and argue politics when I'm talking about something that has to do with our overall consciousness. But maybe I shared a post with a politician's name on it that triggers somebody. So then they've got to put up everything they didn't like about this person. And well, if, another Democratic person would have said this, then you would have loved it. And people are missing the lesson of this virus. The lesson is connection. Even though we are being socially distanced, those of us that have families are asking, the universe is saying, hey, pay attention to the people that love you. For those that are alone and don't have a family at home and are being asked to distance, please FaceTime your pals. FaceTime them. I know people who live alone who are having FaceTime parties with people on Zoom. It's awesome. So please FaceTime people. There's a wonderful Facebook group called Quarantine Karaoke that I have been loving. I've been too dang sick to grab my guitar and sing, which totally sucks. Yet I want to rip out some really great material and put it on there just for fun, because music is a vibration that heals. Music connects people. Connection heals. And even though we are being asked to socially distance for a while to let this virus run its course and die out and do its thing, we can still be with each other online. We can still be with each other emotionally. And, raise your hand if this is really drawing to your attention how blessed we are to have things like restaurants and bars. I mean, how many of us in America, let's just flip the mirror around a minute. How many of us in America come home after a busy day, because we've all been generationally bred to be the hamster in the wheel over here, and we're super exhausted. We have very little emotionally to give left to our families. We try, but you have whatever's left over after you've been earning to keep up with a lifestyle that is non-livable as the cost of living shoots up in the United States, but the wages do not. So here we are, we come home, and how many of you check your phone and you have a text from a buddy that you have not seen in frickin' forever, right? And your buddy says, hey, if you got an hour, I'm stopping at this place, this bar to get a cocktail, or this restaurant to get some appetizers. You want to kill an hour with me? I haven't seen you in forever, and I really miss you. How many of us look at that and our heart says, oh my God, I would love to go hang out with you, but I'm so damn tired. I can't move. I can't do it. I'll do it another time. Well, then another time never comes, because we are currently experiencing a collapse in lifestyle in the United States because we have created a non-sustainable economy where the price of everything is raising. Everybody is needing to have at least 2 jobs in their household. Most people I know in the United States at this point, they are a 2-income household if they're a married group. And a lot of times, even if it's a single person, they're working and they may have an additional business on the side. Like maybe they're, selling a product or something online, or they've got into Google Ads. People cannot amass enough money to pay their bills and save money. Because that's people, you know what, gang? Our system in America doesn't want you to save any money. They want you to make the money and give it back to the machine. They want you to make the money and dump it into the avarice giant Pac-Man that is never satiated, that is still on its conquest destiny, eating the earth. They don't want you to save any money. It doesn't, and if you save it, they want you to put it in their bank so they can invest your money that they saved and make money on the interest of your money and then pay you little pennies on the interest. So, honestly, this is so crazy. It's such a crazy system. So how many of us don't go out because we're tired? Well, most of us, right? Look at the lesson that we're being taught. Now we can't go out. It's weird. You want to teach a human being a lesson, take something away from them. Because apparently we're all about 4 years old on the inside, getting our teddy bear taken away and being sent to the corner and telling us to think about our actions. That's what's going on a giant sociological and spiritual level all over the world. We've created a lesser currency out of connection, out of human, real, spend time with people connection. Because our time is eaten up with money, 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 money. How many messages do we get a day in our inbox? How are you going to invest? What's going to happen with your future? You better protect your finances. Well, good luck with that, because the whole thing just took a giant crap. Okay? And I've been talking about this, as has many other people in my field who have been talking about a stock market crash, an economy crash. So many of us in this field have been talking about that. I've been harping on it since 2016. I've been looking at it coming. I didn't know it was going to be a virus that kicked it off. I get to have a few little surprises along the way, even as a psychic and a medium. Yet I'm not God, so I don't get to know everything. That's just the rules. So I have this opportunity, though, to share with everybody the incredible potential that we are in at this point in our lives. And if we can just sit with this process of transition that's going to be happening over the next 3 to 6 months, and that's not just the fiscal transitions are going to keep going, but we'll cover that in part 2 of this podcast. However, the bigger lesson is if we just keep trying to throw Band-Aids at what Mother, Father, God, in what this natural progression, in what this pandemic, in what the earth, in what this connective consciousness exercise is trying to teach us, there's not enough Band-Aids in the whole damn world. It's not going to happen. So what I'm receiving from this angelic realm is all of this really peaceful, calming energy that is really just beckoning people to just be still. Be still. Just be still. And feel into your cells and into your root chakra, which for those of you that don't know what that is, it's an energy center right sitting where your business sits downstairs there. So just feel into that root chakra, feel into your sacral chakra. That's where your belly button is. Feel your gut. Feel into your solar plexus chakra. Feel into your instincts as a mammal, not your fear response, which is a learned response, yet feel into you, into your body, into yourself, into your spirit. Just be a minute. Slow the frick down and just be. And listen, because you will hear the universe. I know this sounds stupid crazy, all right? This sounds like some Mary Poppins crap. I get that. Yet it's not. It's not crap, okay? What I'm trying to communicate to everybody is that every single thing that I've crammed into this podcast, every idea, the poor nutrition, the being corralled as work animals, basically, is what we've been for larger corporations. And, and obviously, too, there's lots of small business owners out there who are incredible employers. And I'm not talking about you guys. You know that. There's mom and pop businesses out there that are amazing. My wife's business, Kinesi Coaching Studios, is amazing. She's an incredible employer. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that the big money just wants more and more and more. I'm talking about the fact that we are being driven to be external creatures, not internal creatures. I'm talking about every bit of distraction that has been shot into our eyeballs like pepper spray over the last 70 years. Are you following here, gang? Are you seeing the enculturation of crazy in which we've been drowning in globally, and especially in our first world nations? This is craziness. Cray, okay? What I'm talking about is if, let's just say what if these giant consumerist models know that if we just unplug a little, we just be still, we just go back to loving ourself, our pets, our friends and family, if we just be, what if all that avarice machine is aware that the minute we start being, we're kind of going to lose interest in what it cares about. And if I need you, if I'm a consumerist giant Pac-Man sociopathic wacko thing entity that requires you to be a cog in my wheel, and you just decide maybe you don't need me anymore, that takes the machine apart. Okay? What I'm trying to convey here is that the machine that drives the world for the sake of its own money, and it's not just the United States, it's the whole world, does not wanting us slowing down and going within. And I'm not talking any guru stuff here. I'm not saying you have to be somebody who can meditate and levitate off the floor. I'm not talking, sucking on a crystal and singing Hare Krishna. I'm not talking about that, all right? I'm talking about the fact that we are creatures that are biologically made to interface with the earth, which means that we are giant resonators and we share everything. Right now we're sharing a virus. We share emotions. We share all kinds of things as a human species. It is phenomenal. And so what I'm talking about, and what these angels are talking about, is we are being asked to just slow the frick down for 5 seconds and listen to what is trying to talk to you on the inside of you. You will hear creation. You will hear peace. Okay, you will hear this, if you want to call it a nature voice or a cosmic voice or a collective consciousness or the lucky rabbit's foot in your pocket. I don't care what you call it. Just don't call it late for dinner, because I'm pretty sure it likes to eat, but not consumerist Pac-Man style eating. I think it likes to eat and share in its banquet of everything that it's eating and gives us all meals back. I think that we have this colossal opportunity to hear what is important right now. And the only way to do that is to slow the F down. Slow down. Yes, I know. I can feel it. I can feel it in my solar plexus when I tune into all of you out there. Many of you, a majority of you, probably 90% of you are concerned about finances at this time. And in part 2 of this podcast, we're going to cover finances during this time, okay? Yet, I want you to hear this part. So let's just put finances over to the side for a minute. Have you ever considered that nature in its very self, in what it is, provides for itself, right? We've already talked about that. Have you ever considered that since we are part of nature, there is a larger system of provision that is in place already on this planet, yet because we've reproduced at such a rapid rate, like a virus all over the planet, and because we have come out of step with natural forms of provision, and we've blinded ourselves and become detached, and we've blinded ourselves with these ideas of billions and millions of dollars. And hey, if you're making millions of dollars, rock on. I don't denounce wealth. That's awesome if you have a ton of money. Way to go. I am proud of you. That's working hard. Way to go. I am simply saying that have we ever considered that maybe there was a system of provision here anyway? And we built the fort that I was talking about at the top of the podcast all over that automatic system of provision. And then we sort of lost track of the fact that trading our beans and dry rocks as money was just a game. And then we really believed it. So now we're in this weird little delusion that there's not enough to go around. And we're seeing the collapse of that delusion as our federal government basically just prints billions and trillions of dollars of funny money to deposit into people's accounts so we can continue going. And I'm super glad they are. Don't get me wrong. I'll take the check. Heck yeah. I'm just simply saying that are we not seeing the forest through the trees? Because that's what coronavirus is here to teach us. So if we still ourselves, we will begin to feel and to understand that we are not alone, that there is provision out there. You will begin to detox from these addictive cycles of creepy work habits, which I'm not saying we shouldn't work. We all should work. Human beings are made to work. We're made to have a purpose in this world. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the rat race crap. I think you know what I'm talking about, gang. All right? So we've got to ask ourselves, where is this pandemic pushing my buttons? Am I afraid I'm going to starve? Well, honestly, do you really believe you couldn't go to a neighbor and say, gosh, do you have a spare egg? I have 6 kids and we ran out of eggs and the grocery store doesn't have any eggs. And I tell you what, the next time I get a bunch of eggs, I'll come over and I'll give you your eggs back. But do you happen to have any? We haven't gotten to the place yet where people are being so restrictive. It's not the zombie apocalypse yet. If we can start sharing in this space and people start to see that we will bring them back provision, that they can count on us and we can count on them. If we start to show that to one another in tiny increments and reteach ourselves that we are not separate and that we are connected, then this stillness that we are feeling inside, we're going to start to hear it better. And you know what it's going to say? This is what the universe has been saying to me nonstop since this coronavirus thing broke out. And I will preface this comment with saying that it's interesting because as Corona came in, I got really, really sick with this upper respiratory infection. And I'll be honest, I thought I had COVID-19. I did. It came on like a train running me over. I'd never been sick like this. Turns out I don't have it. I don't have the type of symptoms that exercise themselves with COVID-19 and whatever. I just have this garden variety bronchial thing and nose thing that was going around, and it's pretty common right now for this time of year. So what I'm saying is that my primary form of reaching the world is my voice. Okay. And even as coronavirus was coming in, I was receiving all these messages. I made a big video and put it out. I had other videos I was going to make. And all of a sudden, boom, I was sidelined. I couldn't talk. I still sound like, an advertisement for some sort of cold medicine over here. So I was sidelined, gang. The universe just stuck me right up on blocks because I typically work from my home office anyway. So working from home for me was not as much of a traumatic stretch as for a lot of people out there who are really feeling this impact. And I consider myself tremendously blessed and lucky because of that. Yet the one thing I could do was put out videos, put out podcasts, blah, I could do it. And I got so damn sick, I couldn't even write a blog. I was sidelined. So I had no other choice but to just be and lay there in my bed and flip through Facebook and, enjoy quarantine karaoke, even though I wanted to participate and sing along with everybody. And I got sidelined. And I'm not the only person that's happened to. And it took me a week and a half of doing absolutely nothing. Nothing. Not vacationing, not reading for people, not creating videos, not doing blog work, not making my podcast happen. Nothing. I don't think you get this about me. I never do nothing. But I have been doing nothing. And all of a sudden, I realized that I was being asked to, quote, do nothing because everything was trying to happen within me. Little voices I'd ignored, crap I put on the back burner, junk I didn't even want to look at in my life and myself and other people. I mean, it was all right there. And I thought, oh my God, okay, apparently by just being, I'm doing a lot. And I began to detox. And it didn't take long, 10 days really, but I began to detox from this addiction to doing in order to find some sort of relevance in the world, in order to be seen, I guess. I don't know. Why do we do what we do? Who even knows? I mean, I'm not saying that I'm just crazy out there wanting to be seen, but think about it. We were a country formed by Puritans in the 1600s. And that was a religion that was based on doing. It was not based on merit. It was not based on who you were as a human being. It was based on your acts of service, selfless service to the Lord. What do you do? Who are you on the outside? Literally, doing. Going to church for 4 hours at a time. Seriously. And they would whack you on the head with a stick if you fell asleep to wake you up. Not even kidding. Yeah, when England took the fanatics and said, we're either going to kill you or you can go live in another land because y'all are crazy, I want you to remember those were our founders, all right? Religiously crazy people that got kicked out of England for freaking everybody out. Those were our founders. So here we are. So we have generations, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of being doers in America. We have a lot of, quote, Christian doctrine that talks about, doing for others. And yes, we should do for others. Absolutely. But we lost our sense of being. So what I have watched in myself, and this is what I'm sharing with you in a 2-part podcast, I have watched myself detox from this psychotic need to do. And I thought, part of that started for me when we went to Belize. My family saved up for a year to go to this vacation. We went for a week and came back. And I began to see our bizarre addiction to staying busy and how that substitutes in our psyche as personal and sociological relevance. Just by being busy. I'm busy. Look how successful I'm busy. I'm successful. I'm busy. We see that in the United States as success and as a doer. You know what else is busy? A damn hamster running in a wheel for hours at a time. It's real busy. It ain't going anywhere, but it's busy. Look how busy it is. Oh, good for the hamster. And so when I came back from Belize, I had this eyes wide open first impact moment of the resonation in the United States that has been laid down, that has been unhealthy for us. Now, listen to me. I am not saying that we shouldn't work. I'm not saying we shouldn't get out there with our gifts and talents. I'm not saying that we shouldn't blow up this world in beautiful new things, new technologies, affecting one another, farming. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we have been duped by a sociopathic consumerist system that needs us to believe that being a hamster in the wheel is the apex of being alive. And I am telling you that over the last 10 days, not only have I been sidelined completely in every way that I would personally reach out to others, and I'm a hyper extrovert, so this has been kind of sucky, I'll tell you. Yet, my God, have I had my soul opened to what it means to just be and still bring yourself to the world. And this is what I want to share with everybody in part 2 of this podcast, because this new ether, what we're just beginning to get into here in the United States, and other countries have been dealing with this for months and months. Now we're learning that what was going on in China was happening months before we even heard about it. And it's still happening. And they're starting to get a little bit ahead of it in China. So what I want to share with you in part 2 of this podcast is what it means to be, and why that's going to be far more impactful in our world, in our world than doing. I'm not kidding you. This has been downloaded in me the last 10 days because I've been literally, quote, doing nothing. Or have I? I've been doing everything. And I've been listening. And I've been learning. And at the same time, I'm watching me get sidelined with this goofy cold. You know, my wife, who is a massive fitness professional, her body is her temple. She's in excellent shape. She was bringing some groceries in about 2-3 weeks ago, and she caught her toe on the edge of our front step, and she fell down the steps and about twisted her right foot off and just tore a ton of ligaments in there. So she was literally sidelined. I mean, she couldn't do her workouts. She couldn't do anything because she was in a boot. She was on crutches. And she had to experience this just being thing and this detox from the illusion that being in the hamster wheel equals success. And both of us have been having this massive, just phenomenal light bulb over the top of our head. And I know there's many of you listening going, well, good for you. You both own your own businesses. Listen, psychic sister, you work from your house on the phone. Boo-hoo for you. Nothing's changed for you. But my gym is shut down and I'm a trainer, or, whatever it is has been shut down. I own a restaurant and it's shutting down and I'm dying on the vine here. Listen, don't go to the place of fear. Hang in there for part 2 of this because I'm going to talk about what the universe is saying to us on the inside, all of the insights that we are receiving, all of the instructions that we're getting for how to build this new world by just being, slowing down, unplugging, readjusting our perspective, and going back out into it. I'm going to share a bunch of interesting stuff that I've learned over the last 10 days about how we can go forward in our new normal. So everybody, I just want you to know, hang in there for part 2. And it's a crazy time to be alive. I want you to look at yourself in the mirror right now if you have one. If not, I want you to look at the clock and I want you to look at the date because you are part of the new greatest generation. There are going to be many people who are going to lose their lives in this particular battle. There's going to be many of us stepping up to create a new world together, and that's going to be huge. And I've been using this term, #NewGreatestGeneration. I've had some people very upset with me on that because they're like, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. That's referring to the hundreds of thousands of people that gave their life in World War II, and you have no idea what you're saying, and this is a stupid equivocation. I understand that people feel that way. Please note that when I use this term, New Greatest Generation, I am looking forward at some things that we have yet to encounter, people. All right. And we are not done with pandemics. The next 5 or 10 years are going to bring us some wingdingers that are going to come out of permafrost as it melts, as our Greenland ice sheet is just falling into the ocean. But we don't need to cover that right now because right now what we're learning is how to hear ourselves on the inside, how to create a society that's going to operate from that perspective instead of the fake hamster wheel busyness. And I cannot wait to share with you what I've been downloaded with. So stick around, stay tuned for part 2 of this podcast. May you all be blessed. May you all stay healthy. Please stay healthy. This isn't some hoax, gang. Please just be mindful, okay? And I understand there's some of you that think you're not going to get sick. That's fine. Yet you could be a carrier to somebody who could be sick. So let's all be mindful and courteous. Take a minute to go within, and I will see you next podcast.